So welcome to another episode of Winning with Ace. Today we have Brent Miller, one of the top watch guys in the whole country, like the best of the best you can ask for. Again, he's a winner, so that's why we brought him to the podcast. I want to start with a question. This is a question we ask everyone, Brent. And again, thank you for coming to our podcast. What does winning mean to you? Like, is it family then? Is it freedom? What is it? What does winning means to Brent?
I think winning for me personally is the satisfaction of knowing I went above and beyond for whether it's my family, my clients, my friends, and just really being thoughtful in that aspect. And you know, whether it's selling to them a piece at the best price or the best quality or the best level of service. And I think just knowing that I did everything I could in my power to make sure that they had a great experience. And I think when that person puts on their first watch or their 100th watch, I want them to have that same smile, that same feeling of joy when they put, you know, that piece on their wrist.
That gives you pleasure.
It really
You
does.
want people to keep coming back to you. Like you want to keep that relationship, get the referrals, get everyone to come back.
Exactly. And I mean, in the watch business, I would say it's a little bit different than the, you know, real estate, but I'm sure it's similar. You take care of the person one time and you have them for life, you know, and I think you don't always have to be, that does not always have to be a monetary thing either.
Yeah, there's sometimes that you probably lost money or you broke even because of your word.
Sure. And I mean, or you work tighter with people, you take a watch back for higher than you would buy it from someone else, you know, to keep the relationship going and good.
That's key for business. Brent, tell us who you are. Tell us why Carbon Watch. Tell us what you do. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and you know, just give us your pitch.
100%. So Carbon Watch Company, the name started because carbon with heat and pressure makes a diamond. So Diamond Watch Company is how the name kind of came about. And with being a diamond watch company, we do a lot of plain Jane Rolex, AP, Patek, Richard Mille, but we also do diamond encrusted pieces as well. So we have a little bit of something for everyone. We focus on volume. Most of our business started as a wholesale company, so supplying stores around the country with the best level of inventory, the best pricing, the best service, the best selection. And then it moved into our word, getting carried around town, people wanting a new place to shop for timepieces, somewhere they could go, somewhere they could trust, and see the biggest selection of timepiece inventory in Southwest Florida. So it's hard to go, you know, you go walk into the Rolex store or walk into an AP boutique.
They have nothing.
They don't have inventory.
They just don't have it.
You know, they'll put you on a wait list. And now, with how the market is, you can actually purchase some pieces under MSRP. You know, and so that's important for some customers as well when you're trying to preserve that asset. You don't want to go be, you know, paying over market price. You know, pieces might be over MSRP, like your root beer.
Yeah.
You know, slightly over, right? $18,000-$19,000. You know, MSRP being $17,500, but you know, you don't want to wait. You know, people want to put the asset on their wrist, and you know, especially with MSRP raising, you know, year after year.
Yeah, and for me as a buyer, for example, I want to go to a store that they have any type of. You know how difficult I am to pick up a watch. It's so hard for me. It takes me 2, 3, 4, 5 days visits to the store to pick up a watch because it's difficult for me. So I can tell for a fact that you have more collection of watches than anybody locally. Like Collier in Lee County, nobody has more watches than you. And I think that's big on your name. Like, that's
yeah, I want people to be able to come in, not feel super pressured. You don't have to walk out with a timepiece today.
That's what I like about you, because when I remember when I first started, obviously I think most of the,
well, you didn't trust me when I told you he was the best.
I didn't, because when you said, you know, I'm spending thousands of dollars in a watch, you know, people get nervous. You know, is this guy, you know, real?
No, he didn't trust me. He's like, yeah, you're your sales guy, so you're gonna sell me him regardless. And I was like, no, bro, just trust him, because you don't push anyone, you don't hustle anyone. Like, I've been there multiple times. I didn't buy anything.
Same, and the knowledge with diamonds. Like I think that's what really impacted me. You know, when I first started, people think it's just buying diamonds, but behind the diamonds, it's just so much more. That having someone that actually knows about diamonds, is kind of fascinating because not too many people know a lot about it. And
Well, I think the educational part, whether it's a watch, whether it's a diamond, that's important part of the process, because if the more you're educated on what you're buying, the better deal you might get, the better quality of piece you might get. And when we're talking about assets, that's important, making sure that you're putting your money where it's going to stay,
Yeah, I wanted to get their assets. So, real estate is an asset.
Yep.
We all agree on this and everything. Watches, I believe, is an asset too, because you have money at hand, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're putting money into a piece. Now, I don't want to be that sales guy that's, watches are going up. You're going to make, retire off of this watch deal, But at the same time, it's something that you can put your money in, that you can't swipe your Amex for. You can't, you can't spend that money that's on your wrist,
Exactly.
Instantly. So it gives you time to think about what you're spending your money on. And if you're putting it into an asset like a house, you're more than welcome to come back to Carbon Watch Company and sell that piece back to us at a fair market price.
now people have this mentality where most people say, it's technically not an asset because you end up losing a little bit. Now, if I am looking for a watch and my plan is to make money on the long run, what should I be looking for? Like, what type of watch? Like, do I just walk into your store, buy something, hold it for 6-7 months, a year, and then make money? Or what's the investment, not the asset, the investment part of watches when it comes to, someone that is going to wear them, not just sell them,
safe,
I think it's a great question. I mean, I would say from an investment standpoint, vintage is really hot right now. So your 4-digit reference subs, your 4-digit reference GMTs and Daytonas, stuff that was in the 60s. That stuff is super popular right now. You see athletes, celebrities wearing older, smaller pieces now. But I would also say anything that you can't just walk into any store and they have. So rare dials, stone dials, pave diamond dials, stuff that's factory from the major brands that isn't, may not be a catalog piece. I don't know if you guys have looked into it too much, but there actually is a whole off-catalog selection of timepieces on all the major brands that they don't post on the website. They don't post on marketing.
Don't promote them.
Yeah, at all. So if you're a high enough spender, a high enough client at some of these watch brands, they actually give you a whole off-catalog selection for factory gem sets. Everyone's seen the Rainbow Daytona. That's probably the most popular, known off-catalog piece. The watch MSRP is $140,000. It trades for $400,000 on the secondary market.
That's
crazy.
During COVID, almost $1 million.
That's crazy. I wonder, when did having an expensive watch became a thing? Like what?
I think from my perspective,
social media,
influencers and things like that.
Yeah, but this was going on in the 60s, 50s.
The watch was made on the systems, but they didn't wear
saying
like
the hey, let's have a really expensive piece on the wrist, and this will be kind of cool. And
it's a timepiece.
But
the name.
But I think you make a good point though. When did
it became
wearing your status on your wrist but that's never changed. People always wanted to be the top, and they find items, they find trophies. Once you've made X amount of dollars to put a trophy somewhere. Some people use it as a classic car. So, having a 69 Camaro, all original VIN matching. I think people, when you're a winner, you want those trophies.
And you want the conversation too, because you know how many conversations I've gotten from watches. Like people ask you, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" Blah blah blah, and then everything starts from the watch.
Conversation started of certain type. Yeah, if someone comes and tells you, "Hey, nice watch," you kind of know that person, And
he knows about watches too, because not a lot of people know about watches. Like you can tell someone, "Hey, these are Rolex." Yeah, I've seen so many Rolex. You can compare day jobs with a date, and they'll be confused and all. Yeah.
But I also think you can't bring your house to
the party.
To the party.
Yeah.
that's
and you don't want to be drinking and driving. The richest people, or the the top tier of clients, they have drivers. They don't even drive their supercars out. They have them in trophies in their garage.
That's what happens.
But you can wear your watch anywhere you go. And I think no matter the price point of watch, I've seen people walk in with a $500 timepiece, and it told a story at the time of their life that they bought that piece. They remember that piece. They saved up for that piece, and they bought it. And different achievements in life throughout their life are told by those trophies.
Yeah,
I've seen people that they actually made it in life. Something happens because as business owners, a lot of things can happen and a lot of things can go wrong. I know people that then on the lowest point they bought a nice watch. You know why? Because that's a reminder to them to not get back there. So that's
a cool way, and that's people.
I wanted to ask you something.
Yeah.
So, for the new generation and everyone that is looking to buy a watch, they probably have some money. What would you recommend to be the first watch they ever buy, and why?
So, I think let me tell you my story on my first watch.
Yeah.
And I think that will relate to a lot of people out there. So I had been in a couple businesses. In high school, I was always entrepreneurial. But I saw my dad, when he got his first big corporate job, my mom bought him a Rolex Submariner black. Date 16610, acrylic bezel. But that was like the pinnacle for me. That was like once you had a Rolex, you had made it. And so when I had my first big paycheck, that's what I wanted to buy. So I bought a
Same watch?
ceramic Submariner date, black on black.
How old were you?
I was 20 years old.
And what when did you started the company or the carbon watch? When did you start in the watch company? What did you used to do before that?
Yeah.
Like, tell us a little bit about that.
That same watch tells a story about my life, honestly. And so when I was buying and selling cell phones, that's how I originally started learning how to buy and sell and make money. I understood that you buy something for cheap or a lower price than you could sell it for, and you make the margin in between. And then I got into wholesaling the cell phones, buying a phone, selling it for cheap, but doing volume. And so I took the same mentality that I did with the cell phones with the watches. So not making $100,000 on one timepiece, but making $1,000 100 times. And you keep that client coming back. And so I actually had sold that Submariner, and that's how I got into the watch business. So I went to FGCU to play baseball. Things didn't work out the way I wanted to, but I had to figure out how to pivot. And I think as business owners, you need to figure that out on a daily basis.
We always talk about it. Like at least once a month, you're like, oh, what do I do now? Like, how can I be better?
And there's no guide. Everyone wants to write a book on how to be a business owner, but until you're in the fire, until your back's against the wall, you don't know how you're going to react.
So there's so many right now. This is one thing that's crazy right now these days. Everybody's buying all these courses and all these things and blah blah blah. How to make money. I don't think it's about that. It's about your talent. It's about your mentality. It's about you getting out there every single day, waking up in the morning. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna do it.
Finding something you're passionate about, though.
Right.
Because if you don't have passion of what you're doing and what you're selling or the service that you're providing, in my opinion, you're never gonna be successful. And for me, it's being better than I was yesterday. Maybe it's selling one extra watch, but maybe it's just sending that text message. How did you enjoy your purchase? Do you love the piece? Yeah. And if it's no, how do you make them, how do you rectify that situation? Or how do you make sure that person had a fantastic experience? I'm sure you guys have sold properties that maybe go sideways, and how do you react to that? And how do you...
Well, it happens to us pretty much all the time. Like there's some times that I advise my client not to buy the house because I see something that they're not seeing, but that's what they want.
Sure.
And if that's what they want, they buy what they want. So that's pretty much how I react. I'm like, hey, this is the pros and these are the cons. Do you want to buy it? Are you sure you want to buy it? And they say yes. And when they buy it, even if the AC breaks or anything that happens to the house, they still love it because that's what they wanted. And it comes back to doing what you want, buying what you want, being happy of the step that you took.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point, though, because sometimes clients are buying watches for investments. They didn't buy what they loved. And I'm sure the same thing with houses and real estate properties in general. And I tell people, buy what you love. If you love that Submariner or the Yachtmaster, then if the value goes down a little bit and you lose 10,
You're still gonna be
15%,
happy.
you loved and enjoyed that piece.
Correct.
Just like you loved and enjoyed that property.
That happens to me all the time. Every time I buy something because of an investment, I end up losing money. All the time. It never fails. 100% of the time that I buy something because I'm like, this is going to go up in price. It end up going down and I end up losing money. When I buy something I love, I always make money on it because I'm happy about it. Even if I lose a little bit, I'm still happy because
You still
I bought
made
it.
money in your mind. Yeah, and I think that's the cool part about Carbon Watch Company is you can come in, you can see all the different pieces. You know, we have over 375 pieces now in stock
Jesus.
in Southwest Florida, and you're able to come in and try on all those pieces that you've seen online. You know, some people come in with this mindset and that picture of that Submariner that's been on their wall since they were a kid. They come try it on and it's not what they expected. It's too small or it's too big, and it's not the perfect one. And so that's what I really enjoy doing is finding that perfect piece for that person to get you into those situations, get you into those rooms, those circles, those groups, and open up the door.
No, and people would think that you just wanted to sell watches, but you're selling a lifestyle. You're selling something in their advantage. Even if they don't see it at the time, eventually they're gonna appreciate that watch.
Yep.
I have a friend that he just bought a Rolex because he's a really high end. I mean, he's really good with AC. He sells AC. He has a big company right now. He grew a lot, Jose. And then every single meeting that he went, all the high ballers, the CEOs, the owners of the company, they all had nice watches. And he's like,
They start to take you seriously.
They start to take you seriously, man. That's I hate to say it, but it's true. You go to a meeting, like an important meeting, and you have a Rolex in your wrist, and for now you don't have to prove anything. You just don't have to prove a point.
Well, he argued with me all the time because I always had watches, and then he complained. He's like, I don't need this. Why would I spend this money? He was actually buying a house, and everybody at the meeting, including the realtor, they had Rolexes, and he's like, bro, I need to buy a watch.
That was when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy a watch because I'm buying a house. It's I'm meeting with the builders, I'm meeting with the realtors, I'm meeting with a bunch of stuff because it was not non-traditional transaction. So when I get to the meeting, I get to the table, and when I look, there was like 3 builders, 1 loan officer or something, and the realtor, and even she was wearing a Rolex.
Well, and I think people people have it, I think, a little bit confused because I have had a lot of clients come in and they're like, well, I don't want my employees to know that I have a high-end watch and I spent this much money on a timepiece, or I don't want my clients to think I'm making too much money off of them. But in reality, I think it's the opposite. People want to deal with winners.
Correct.
And that's why this podcast exists, right?
Exactly.
We want to share the story of winners, and you want to be a winner.
Correct.
So, and I'm not saying the watch is the only way to do that, but I think people respect when you have a nice timepiece on, and they understand the grit and the grind that it took to get to that place. And if you're still providing a quality price, a quality service, and you're being fair with people, then I think people respect that and want to do business with a winner.
No, and I want an audience to know that we're not talking here that you need to go buy a Rolex or anything like that just to look different. No. It could be a Citizen, it could be a Movado. It's all about your appearance, the way you present yourself, the way you act, and where you want to be in life. It doesn't matter. The Rolex is not going to give you a reputation, or it's not going to work for you. It's not going to work as hard. This is all about working and stuff like that. We're just giving our insight when it comes to watches, to cars, to clothes, all that stuff.
Right.
What's your favorite brand when it comes to watches?
I think I'm going to say, personally, right now, Audemars.
Yeah.
Oh my God, look at this.
Yeah, I brought a few in the vault box.
Look at this.
What?
This
is limited, right?
Black ceramic. All black ceramic, royal oak with the rose gold inlays in the dial. It's one of those pieces that is so unique and not everyone has. So a little fun fact.
What about this?
Richard Mille factory black diamond.
The big boy.
This is a big boy here.
How much is that AP? Roughly, what's it?
115,000.
115.
And so, but I want to share something with everyone out there as well. Rolex makes over 1 million timepieces a year. 1 million. Patek, AP, and Richard Mille make significantly less. AP makes about 60,000 timepieces a year. Patek Philippe makes about 40,000 timepieces a year, and then Richard Mille only makes 6,000 pieces a year. So you got to think about that. That's worldwide, globally.
It's limited.
And why is it easier to sell a Rolex or buy a Rolex? I mean, obviously because they're producing more, but like
More.
They're for me, it's like, tell me if I'm wrong, because you're the expert. I think I get pretty bored of things quickly. Like I buy a watch, I'll probably use it for a year, 2 years, and I might just sell it. I just rather buy another one, and I feel like if I buy a Rolex, it's just so much easier to sell it.
Well, I just think it's more popular, and so when you finally made it, everyone talks about the Rolex, and you're wearing a
Right.
There's a reason people fake so many Rolexes, because
Yes.
everyone wants the Rolex, and that's really, I think, how the watch business has grown so much, is because social media and because of people's image when they have a nice timepiece on, especially a Rolex. But as you get into those higher circles, though, I think people respect the subtle flex of an Audemars or a Patek, and it might not be the most flashy thing. It might not be solid gold. It might be a stainless steel Patek for 125,000. It's crazy to think about.
Crazy.
But it gives you that next level of.
One question I've always had: is it hard to become successful in the watch yearly industry? Because as a real estate agent, we're competing versus how many, like 20,000 just in Lee County, right?
Yeah.
Just in Lee County. So for us, for a realtor to become successful, it's just nowadays
tough
it's
right
just
now.
tough because
Right now,
there's
it's a
too
little bit
many. But as a watch guy,
But I think the watch business and the real estate market and the car market, I think, are all very similar.
yeah.
They go together.
They go together, but I think the people in that profession are all very similar and like-minded people, at least the winners of those different sectors, because it's how to be different. There's 19,000 real estate agents in Lee County, but how many of them are doing a podcast? How many of them are doing a special event? How many are trying to be different? And so I think that relates back to your question in the sense of there's courses on how to become a watch dealer. There's classes online on how to become a watch dealer. But at the end of the day, it's all about that service that you're providing, being different, coming on podcasts, doing open houses, and where I bring timepieces and being different. People are going to talk about that, remember that, and remember that experience that they had in your place of business or with the service you provide. So I think it is difficult, though, for someone starting off to come, buy a watch, and instantly know how to sell it for profit. Where do you start? Where do you begin? And I think it all circles back to just having a network.
So we agree that everything goes back to you and the amount of work you put into it, your ideas, the hustle, being different. You don't want to be like everybody else.
Right. And I think from a very young age, my dad told me network is absolutely everything. And I think there was even a question that we talked about, like if you had to start over tomorrow with no money.
Yeah, that's a question. I was gonna ask you that question.
Nothing. Yeah.
And you had to start back at ground zero. How would you do that? And I think the important part with that is having your network and people that support you. Because if you treat one person wrong, how many other people did you treat wrong? And so I think not making enemies and making friends and connections and long-term relationships is the most important. Because you could start back at ground zero, but if you have that solid network and that support system, you'll always find a way to either make money or feed your family and have support behind you.
1,000% I agree with them. That's actually really good. Keep it a network.
Networking in anything that it's related, because the first thing is you realize, like you said earlier, like when you understand the concept of buying something at this price and selling it for a profit, that's when you kind of got the idea behind of being successful somehow, and then the other little key parts of being a nice person, having good customer service, having.
But there's a market for everything. There's literally a market for everything. It just depends on the effort, and then you believing on the product you're selling too. It's like it goes back to when we started the podcast. What you were saying, you gotta do what you love because you believe on that product. You believe on what you're selling. If you believe on it, you can sell it.
And then being knowledgeable in that as well. People want to buy the knowledge. You might spend an extra $500 on the timepiece or the $500 on the diamond ring, but when issues happen with that, like let's talk about the ring.
Let's talk about the ring. Yeah, whatever.
We started with a picture.
And Andy, to the client that was just here, looking at the timepiece, Andy was saying, I mean, I personally don't give you I can't warranty the piece, but I could tell you he would take care of you, and I was just telling Andy, what you did for me was just something insane, and that's I want to work with someone that does what you did. Just talk about the ring.
The second time
Let's
that
talk
you
about the ring.
And so we'll start from the beginning. So we turned a photo into life.
Yeah.
We had an idea of what you wanted to create for that special day. We created the ring. I tried to educate you the best as I could on color, clarity, cut, natural versus lab, and the pros and cons between the two. And then when we built the ring, it came back to me 2 months later, and it looked like it got ran over by a car, honestly.
But you see, I'm romantic. People say I'm not actually romantic, but I took my time with
you. Took your time. You took your time.
When was the last time you gave me a hug?
Shut up.
But that's what's important. If you're buying from someone that cares about the service and provide, and we got it fixed, and now she's back to enjoying it and admiring it and wearing it every day. So I think that's the other important part when people start to get into buying and selling watches, or a customer going with someone that might be $500 less, but when issues happen, where can you go?
It's not worth it.
And
I didn't trust anybody with the ring because I don't know, I look at a diamond, and where anybody normal looks at a diamond and they don't know if it's fake, natural, if it's lab, if it's real. I give my ring to someone, they take it to the back. I mean, I'm not saying people do that, but I just don't trust it, so I'd rather just go to you, drive, and take it to you.
But tell me the last time that you went to his shop and then you were mad when you left. Every time, for example, me, that happens to my office. So when I'm here, I don't want to leave. When I go to your store, I feel happy. I feel like a kid.
Motivated. I feel motivated because I always want something, a better watch. So, I'm like, I have to work a little bit harder in order for me to buy something better. So it's like,
it's like looking at Brent. I mean, he's a motivation for us too, like all the time. How we met him. You know how we met Brent?
No.
He bought my wheels from a Mercedes X63 AMG. We met through the marketplace.
Facebook Marketplace.
And then next thing you know, I'm looking at, before I change the topic, I wanted to get into something that you do that I think is the best thing I ever seen in my life. We talk about it all the time. The WhatsApp and then the Instagram. Oh my God, that's the best thing. I haven't seen no one do it.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. So on Instagram and WhatsApp, we have a channel where we post all our new arrivals every single day with a price, the details of the piece, the condition, and even if you're not in the market today, you can be a member of that
I
channel.
save pictures. I'm like,
bro, I get
this
hooked.
is what I want next.
I'm not looking for the watch. I'm not looking for the watch, but and that's my style too. Like some people, they have their own style. Why would you put a picture without the price? No, because they're gonna ask me. No, put me the price, year, everything about the watch.
I want to see honesty.
I want to see the watch. I want to know the price, and if I like the price, I'll take a screenshot. I'm not even looking for the watch, but now you got me so hooked into.
You get me
channels.
thinking, should I get it? Should I not get it? Should I call him?
Yeah.
Yep, and it's like you gotta sell that extra house or do that extra deal. It pushes you. That's what winners. I feel like they. That's what keeps you up at night is chasing that next trophy.
We might start doing that too for our listeners and things like that.
I told you
He's been wanting to do it. We might start doing it.
Let's copy Brent and let's do it with houses.
Well, and I think it's not even copying. It's working. Using ideas that you see your network being successful with, and I think that's so important that. Some people are like, oh no, I want to hold this idea. I don't want other people doing it, but you should want your people in your network to succeed and share what's worked well and share what has helped you get to that next level. And so I do think everyone that's listening should definitely join the channel because even if you're not in the market, it educates you on pricing and it educates you on the different pieces that are out there. And it lets you, with a very low pressure, see different timepieces, and you get to learn, hey man, this is $100,000 I would have never known, or this is $10,000, and it gives people that education.
Hey Brent, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a room that room makes you uncomfortable? Because you're like, I don't know, there's so many billionaires, let's per se, and then you're so uncomfortable. How do you overcome this situation? Does he motivate you, or Does he make you mad?
Yeah, no, I think I've always, so I'm 26 years old.
Damn,
I
you're
was
younger than me.
26.
Holy
born
shit.
in 1999, and I've always tried to surround myself with people that were better than me. Honestly, I always wanted to be the poorest person in the room, the least successful, because being around winners makes you motivated and gives you ideas and gives you that drive to sit in their seat. And
Yeah.
I think as you become more successful, you want to help your network around you get to that same level, and you want to surround yourself with the next circle. And so I think situations that I've felt uncomfortable in, I tried to, I moved around a lot when I was a kid, and I think that gave me a good skill set to be able to talk to anyone, whether it's at a bar, whether it's at a restaurant, whether it's, at a car show. And I think that's important, is just shaking that person's hand, looking them in the eye, and they see that you want to learn. And if you listen, and my dad always told me you had 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
You were really close to your dad, or you're close to your
I'm
dad?
very close with him, and he's been very successful in a different field, as a corporate, driven guy. And I think, being able to listen more than you're speaking, and listen to what's going on around you, and learning and absorbing and being a sponge, and then applying those things. So many people, I feel like in life, they have all these grand ideas, but they never put it into action and execute. And I think execution, how did you first execute on an idea that you had and that really gave you the jumping pad to be successful?
That's right when I became a realtor. I got really frustrated when I started as an agent, because I was making good money working at T-Mobile, selling cell phones. And I was making kind of good money for my age. I was like 19 or 18 years old, making $75,000 back then. That was really good money. And then when I started real estate, I couldn't sell anything. I couldn't close a deal. I only sold a lot and a duplex. And then by December, I was so frustrated. And my old broker, Jocelyn Hallow, I love her to death. She's like the best broker I ever met in my life. She's like, "Hey, Andy, sit down." I was an agent with an accent, Hispanic, the youngest agent on Remax Realty team when I used to work. And then she's like, "Andy, if you want to be successful, you know what you need to be. You know what you need to do. You need to learn everything. You need to make sure you know everything that comes your way. Like, if someone asks you a question, you gotta know, and you have to be motivated. You gotta get out of that T-Mobile secured zone, you safe zone, and all that stuff." And I was like, "You know what? You're right." By January, this was in December, this conversation that we had, I didn't work real estate in December. I was like, "I'm gonna make all the money I can on T-Mobile, and then I'm gonna quit." In January, I quit. I had enough money to pay for my bills 6 months, and I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna do real estate only, and I'm gonna go out there." I did what nobody wanted to do. Knock on doors, make phone calls, show my face around, make videos, do this. Everything that I was uncomfortable on doing, I did it. And then he helped me out a lot. And a couple months after that.
It's pretty funny. I have like almost the exact same story.
I have literally the same, pretty much.
Because I was in college. I had a very comfortable medical software sales job. I was, making great money, similar to the T-Mobile when I was even selling cell phones as well. So I was selling cell phones on the side. I was working medical software. I was trying to flip watches. And I finally said, I made the same amount of money selling watches that I did in the medical software job, and I never looked back. Everyone was so, like, my parents were so uncomfortable. They were like, What are you going to do? How are you going to support yourself? We're not going to always be here supporting you, and you're going to quit a stable job to go buy and sell watches. And sometimes you have to take that risk, and if you might fail 10 times. I'm sure we've all failed in different aspects of, with a deal.
Take risks.
I wish I could say this in English the right way. I'd rather regret of doing something than not doing it.
Yep.
I'd rather regret something that I do that, I tried it, I failed, I did it, whatever, than always thinking,
what if I did that?
What if I did it? I think I would have been so successful if I did that. I'd rather just do it and regret it, and that's why I do a lot of mistakes, but I'd rather, try it and not working out than actually.
Yeah, we make mistakes all the time, and we still do. You know what I learned the other day? So I met someone networking, and then he gave me an advice. He's like an older person. He's good. He's settled. When I was younger, immature, I was like 22, 23 years old. I met with a big developer in Miami, like he was the one that built Brickell Heights, and he's building Lofty right now that I think got sold, multiple buildings. And then, just to not make the story longer, we clicked. He was really good, and he gave me his number. I didn't call him because I was embarrassed, or I was I was scared. Insecure and all that stuff. I was like, what can I offer this guy? He's a billionaire. Like, what can I offer him? This guy that I met recently, he told me, you should have called him. He said, there's a reason why he gave you the number. He probably saw something in you, and you lost the opportunity for not calling him.
Right.
From now on, see, if you give me your number, it's because you want to talk to me. If not, you would have never given my number. Yeah, same thing right. I do. If I give you my number, it's because I want to talk to you, want to have a conversation, I want to make you part of what I'm building.
Part of what he said. What advice you give the new generation, new business owners? What would be the advice you give to someone that wants to start, maybe being a wholesaler at the watch, industry, or what do you give to the new people, that are
100%. I would say the first thing I would tell every single person that wants to start any type of business, whether it's watches, whether it's cell phones, whether it's real estate, is if you treat people right, they're always going to come back. Oh. And whether that's treating them fair on price, service, we keep going back to that, but I think that is super important. And the second thing that I would have to give every person that is starting a business in general is you need to just do something that you absolutely love.
Yeah.
Because if you everyone chases the money. They really do. Everyone sees the trophy.
The money. I've chased it before,
right, and you see the trophies
that.
Yeah, and you see the trophies that other people have, and you're like, I want that. And that guy's making so much money selling watches, but they don't see the last 6 years that I've been calling people, posting at midnight, staying up till 3 a.m, buying watches from Hong Kong, and that's when they start their day over there. And people don't understand that. They don't see all the grit and grind that went into it. And I guess what did either of you guys have a moment that you thought you were gonna quit?
Oh yeah, every single month.
Every month.
Every month I have. Yeah, every month I have. There's a day that I wake up in the morning. I'm like, I just want to quit. Yep. I'm tired. Past Saturday and Sunday, I work more hours than anybody else in their lifetime. Like I work 40 hours in 2 days, literally 40 hours into. Monday I was dead. I was like, I'm tired, but I gotta wake up and I gotta go to the gym and I gotta do my stuff. Why? Because a lot of people are depending on me. A lot of people trust me. My agents, they see me, and then I have to do it. Like there's no other option. There's no failure here. Like I gotta do it.
Yeah, and when you have so many people that rely on you to, feed their families, it's different. That whole mindset changes once you have people that rely on you to get up. And some days I don't want to go to the office, but I realize that there's people that are counting on me to make money and support.
And not only the support and then the people around you, it's just you as a man. Like, for example, if I didn't wake up in the morning and I wake up at 10 in the, let's say I just woke up 10 in the morning, I lost my whole day. Now I feel bad with myself. Not with the people around me anymore. Now I feel bad with myself. I was like, what did I do today? It's a Monday. I didn't do anything. I'm just lazy. Am I going to be somebody else, or I'm just going to keep on working, keep on grinding and making my life better? And then a lot of people don't see that. And a lot of people say that it's easy. It comes to us. Why do you think we have so many agents? Because they see you making money. I think it's easy to make that money. It might be easy for some people. Like when I graduated from Larson and I got my realtor license, there was an agent that her first sale was like a $10 million house in Naples with a Ferrari inside of the garage. That was the first sale that she ever did. And then I'm like, yeah, it was easy for her. But for us, I mean, it might be harder, but we're going to get there. And some agents, they just start as a part-time, I'm just going to do it and then whatever. Let's go back to real estate. Real estate and watch and cars, guns, we know that every single guy likes that stuff. Let's go back to real estate. Because we've seen watches, they going up on prices.
Yep.
All the time. I mean, back in COVID, the Olive was like 110,000.
Yep.
100,000 right now, they're selling for like 45, maybe 50
grand,
on a good day. Real estate, something a little bit else is happening right now. And I think it's not bad. A lot of people are freaking out. They don't want to buy. They don't want to sell, blah, blah. The market has come down a little bit. I think it has come down to where it needs to be. I feel like more people have access to homes right now. It's more accessible. Real estate, more affordable. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't know if the actual market, like the economic market, like the rates and all this stuff, actually impact the the watch prices. I'm guessing tariffs and all these things that are happening might be a factor on watches, but I don't know if there's something that you know that goes the same way for real estate than watches. I don't know if you have.
I guess why would you recommend someone buying a house today?
All right, this
Or
is
would
simple.
you?
Yeah, this is simple. First of all, if you, I mean, I don't recommend no one to buy a house. I always tell them buy when you're ready. If you're gonna invest or you're gonna just buy a single family home for yourself and your family, just buy when you're ready. Don't buy because no one tells you it's the right time to buy. The right time to buy is never. Like, the right time is when you're ready to buy.
Nobody has a crystal ball.
Exactly.
And that's what
We
I
don't
try
know what's
to,
gonna happen.
Yeah, and people look to, you for advice of when should you buy, when should you sell, and we use our best judgment as the professional in the industry, and we try to use all the factors that we've seen over the last 5, 10, 15 years of you doing it, but really no one has that crystal ball.
Nobody knows, and the
I
market
think
changes all the time. Like
It
there's
changes all the
for us
time,
no-
and
But what would you prefer? Pay 100% interest on a rent, or buy a house at 7% interest rate? Because at the end of the day,
Right,
you're
just
buying for
throwing-
yourself.
Yeah, you're throwing the money away, and real estate is just a matter of timing. You might buy now at 300,000, it might go to 290, but just wait a couple years, and now it's back at 350, and now you're making $50,000, and at the end of the day, it never depreciates. Like it's just cycles that the economy does, and that's what I tell people. You should just buy when you're ready.
When you're ready, I mean, it's just like we were talking about watches. Buy what you love, and buy when you're ready to buy. Don't ask, because everybody these days on TikTok and social media, they lying about this, they lying about that. All you see is
everyone's an expert on there.
Everybody's
but
an
they've
expert on
never
everything.
done it.
Yeah, they don't.
And I think that's the super important part to reiterate is like nobody, like you're listening to people that aren't an expert in their space, but they're telling you how to be an expert. That doesn't make sense to me.
Exactly.
And so I think you should buy and support the businesses that are doing it the right way, and people that you trust, and look to them for guidance. But when you're ready, we'll always be there to help that customer, that client, that that person.
Yeah, I've told clients to not buy it. Like I had a client that he wanted to buy a house, and I'm like, yeah, you're making the money right now, but I don't think you're gonna be able to afford this house eventually. Don't buy it. He ended up leaving me. He bought with another agent. Called me a couple of days ago. He's like, hey, bro, what do I do? This is too expensive for me. I was like, I told you so. Like, you shouldn't buy because someone told you that you're going to make money in this house. You should buy because...
They wanted to just make the commission check.
Exactly.
And our job
They're
as...
pushing.
Yeah, to do the right by people and be I believe the word is like a fiduciary. You want to work in your client's best interest. And that's, I think that's important. So I guess other than that situation, what's a situation you've had with either of you guys, with a client that you've told them to do something and they didn't, and...
I mean, I typically don't tell people to do something. I give them my advice,
Sure.
like for me, I'll give them my advice because when I get in their shoes, they're buying, most of our clients, some of them are first time home buyers, and they're buying a $300,000-$400,000 property that when you buy it, it's not like, I could buy a watch, go to your store, I know you have to make a profit. I might just lose a little bit and get rid of it. You make a bad decision purchasing a house. Now you upside down. You could go into a short sale. Like I just give them my advice depending on their situation. And I always tell them, buy like if you're selling.
Right.
Okay. Like if you want something, think about it like 10 years from now when you're selling it. What is the market going to look like, and who are you going to sell it to?
Sure.
So that's...
So, and then what makes you both different? What makes you guys different than every other 19,000 real estate agents in Southwest?
That's a really
That's
good
a pretty
question.
good
And then
question.
a lot. The way we work is completely different than anybody else. First, we work with honesty. You come to us, you're gonna get the truth, regardless. Like, we're gonna tell you, it's not a good purchase. The house is messed up. You're not gonna make any money. Even if you're gonna break even, we're gonna tell you that. Like, sometimes it makes no sense to buy. Like, why would we lie to make a commission? And the second one, we are a non-traditional real estate company. We do everything completely different than any other real estate company. Everybody does the same thing. What we do, we try to help them with closing costs, negotiate to the best of our abilities.
I think at this point, what makes it pretty special is that we don't think like realtors. We're not thinking about getting paid at closing. Like, I'm selling this guy a house and I'm gonna get my 3% commission at closing. Like, our goal is not to get paid pretty much. Like, obviously this is just how we make a living. We like money. We at the end of the day, we work, to get paid. But at least on my end and Andy's as well, like, we have the experience as investors. We've built, we have flipped. So if you're an investor, you're not talking to a realtor. You're talking to someone that we've flipped
knowledge
many homes. I've built a couple, just in the last year. Like, I know the way the economy works, and we're so active that we know what's happening as well. So the advice that you're getting is you're not working with an agent that sold the house back in December of 2024. We're actively in the market. So I think you're getting fresh knowledge. We're always on top of the news. And the first thing, we're not talking about just getting paid. We don't work to get paid. We work for the name.
For reputation. That's our main
When you don't
thing.
work towards money, when you're not chasing money and you're chasing growing your name, growing your reputation, you have the idea of Ace Realty becoming huge, being the best real estate company. You're not working to get paid, so you're working to help people.
Yep.
You're working to help people. You're working for that referral, because at the end of the day, we work for referrals. You do a nice job, and that person refers you 3 other, buyers or sellers or investors. And when you think about growing your name, I think that's what
and
makes
our
it.
$300,000 clients that they buying right now for $300, they're gonna grow. And then eventually, they're not gonna be buying a $300,000 house. They're gonna be buying a $5-10 million house. They're gonna think of us, just like the old market, old money market. They buying with the same realtors. They've been working for 20 years. So we want to keep that client, and then we treat them all the same.
That's right. And I just actually had a client that it really hit home, because they texted me and they were like, "I'm buying a Submariner date. It was I think $13,500, and I took a gold watch on trade for melt value." He was concerned that I wasn't calculating the melt correctly, and I walked him through that whole process of how the melt gets calculated, and here's the price per gram. And he sent in his trades. He was very nervous, and I made him feel comfortable through the whole situation. He sends me this amazing text message afterwards, and he's just like, the service that you and your team provided was like I was buying a $250,000 richer man.
That's crazy.
And that made my whole day, because he was like, you even paid me more than I thought I was gonna get for the gold piece, because I was doing my math wrong and it was lower, and I was so nervous, and you actually gave me $400 more than I was expecting. And so I guess, what's a situation that you guys have had that really made you reflect and loved what you did even more?
Like I said, all the time again.
At closing, man. I want to say a big percentage of our clients, our people that are migrating from other countries, because at the end of the day, we're Spanish, and we come to this country thinking about buying a house is the American dream.
Sure.
We work towards that, because having a roof for our family, it's everything. So we facilitate that process to all these people, that when they walk into their new home, or they think they made it, and the look in their face is just, for me at least, something that
makes you happy.
It makes you happy.
Even if it's a $200,000 home,
it doesn't matter what it is.
I've been selling $150,000 home.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Motorhome. People enjoy it, and then when you see their faces at closing, even if you make no money, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's just how happy you feel, and then that moment that they made it. They also feel, when you buy your first watch, same then when they bought their first home, they
That's
made
honestly
it.
probably my favorite. Is the person's face when they buy that first timepiece, and it's like that Ferrari for them on the wrist. It is truly something special.
Guys, if you guys want to buy a watch, if you guys are the first time watch buyer, investor, if you're looking for anything, Brent with Carbon Watch, thank you for coming. And
thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate. We're gonna be doing more things together, Brent and Ace, or Carbon Watch and Ace Realty and Associates. Please let us know in the comments, who do you want next, and what should we talk about, and any feedbacks you can give us on this podcast. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Brent.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brent.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.